Good evening and welcome to the regular City Council meeting for the City of St. Peter, Minnesota. It is Monday, January 26th, 2026. At 7:02, we are called to order. Would all please rise for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone should have received a copy of the agenda. Are there any revisions or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
Second.
All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Our agenda is approved. The minutes are printed within the packet on pages 5 through 10. Are there any revisions or corrections to the minutes as distributed? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. As is our normal process, we have time on our schedule for visitors. Are there any visitors who'd like to address the council on any agenda item? Hearing none, we also have time for general visitor comments. Are there any members of the audience who'd like to address the council on another matter? All right. Either one.
So I'm Ellen Conover, and I live at 1623 Windsor Lane, St. Peter, Minnesota. And I'm here to talk about what's going on with immigration in our town. So I have some notes from Zuleka Abdi, who was going to come, but then she said that she felt like she needed to go to the prayer vigil in Minneapolis because she said Alex Pretty died for us. So anyway, this is what she has to say about what the Somali population is experiencing right now. She had a couple of examples of some of the harassment that's happened. She said 2 Somali Gustavus students 2 Somali Gustavus students have been stopped while driving on their way to classes, and they live with their mother here in St. Peter. And they were considering dropping out of college, but then Gustavus plus the Good Neighbor Diversity Council found housing for them on campus in a dorm, which they're grateful for, but now they're wondering how they'll pay for it. So, and then another Somali woman was in the back seat of her car nursing her baby while at a Quick Trip. An ICE agent aggressively pounded on the car window demanding proof of her citizenship. She was able to provide it for him, but her baby was crying and her 5-year-old was afraid. She was reluctant to call 911 because of her accent, but I spoke with the chief of police, and he said we should tell them that she should call anyway, just say ICE, and that they have a location of where her car is then. So that's good news for people calling 911 that are nervous to call because they're not sure that the dispatcher will understand them. So, and there's a Somali woman in St. Peter that owns a halal store in Mankato. She's had to lock her store and leave it unattended while ICE agents are in the area. She has had a marked drop in her business and is contacting the Mankato City Council about a loan for her lost business. But she lives in St. Peter, and now she's wondering how she'll pay rent with no income coming in. Mrs. Zuleka Abdi is grateful to the St. Peter City Council for considering extending the city utilities. That I was at the meeting on Tuesday where the workshop was, so I got the pleasure of listening to you talk about all the different things that you're working on. So I thank you for that. So, and then Dania Gonzalez has some words, but she's too nervous to say them to you, so I'm going to read her words to you. high school students.
Well, and Ellen has my contact information, so if any of you ever wants to reach out for a one-on-one conversation, please do. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Danya Gonzalez. I am a student at St. Peter High School. I'm 18 years old, and I was born and raised here in St. Peter, Minnesota, by my single mom. My dad left when I was very young, and ever since then, my sweet, hardworking mom has taken over the care and responsibility of my younger brother and me. Growing up in St. Peter has always been a warm and accepting community. I could walk down the street with my friends with no worry in the world, or walk in a store and feel welcomed. I've always been very proud of my schoolwork and achievements, like getting accepted into Winona University. I am also a part of the Community Action Club. We are a dedicated club that offers support and resources to all in need during this difficult time. I've had great teachers around me growing up. They always show me a type of understanding and care for me, all until Trump sent ICE here. Ever since then, I feel like I live in a completely different place. Nothing is the same. ICE being here has affected a lot of families, mine included. I am now in charge of my younger brother as my mom has to go into hiding. This comes with a lot of responsibilities an 18-year-old should not have to be thinking about just yet. Having to come home to witness families being stripped apart all around our country is hard enough, and now seeing it happen in our own state and town is difficult to grasp, especially when all of the damage being done to families is going unpunished. So please help put an end to ICE in our city. This isn't the St. Peter we know. Thank you. So we came up with a couple of some suggestions for the city council to consider. And a lot of these you talked about at your Tuesday meeting, but a couple of other ones. Consider putting up a sign prohibiting full face coverings in public buildings. Medical masks and religious headwear would be permitted. Helping families get legal aid. Maybe, I was thinking maybe partnering with other smaller communities, hiring an immigration lawyer together, perhaps, would be helpful. You talked about this before, and it's a great idea. Utility bill and rent help, and loans to affected businesses. I'm not sure how to address this, but somebody said, what happens to 911 calls at night? I would think probably it's the same thing as during the day.
Yep, that's a 24-hour-a-day dispatch,
All right.
so, yep.
So please consider those. And, the community has been wonderful. I mean, churches, the Good Neighbor Diversity Council, the schools have all been so supportive of the families that are going through this, but they are terrified. They are not leaving their homes. When I went to pick up the kids, I mean, I didn't have my phone with me. I'm knocking in the dark, and I'm like, I think they're in there. They're afraid to open the door, even if they know I'm coming, because ICE was sitting outside of their trailer court for 3 hours last week. So, and they're staying at the Best Western, so they're always, they drive through the trailer courts many times a day, just harassing and terrorizing. So, Zuleka wants to know when they're gonna leave. So I said, we all wanna know that. So anyway, thank you for your consideration.
Thanks, Ellen.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other guests in the room who'd like to address the council at this time? All right, thanks again for coming. Again, please, Ellen has my contact information, so if you need anything, feel free to reach out directly. Andy, you're gonna, all right.
City Council members, Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Andy Kukachka. I'm a St. Peter resident of over 10 years. I am reluctant to give my personal address in public because the work that I do in this community puts me in danger of direct retaliation from federal forces, which is terrible because I'm just trying to make sure that my neighbors are fed, my friends are not being kidnapped. In the last 24 hours, the occupation across the state has extended beyond my friends and my neighbors here and into my direct family, because yesterday, ICE agents knocked at the door of my sister's duplex, and her roommates hid inside from those agents until they went away, as if one would hide from Jehovah's Witnesses. But unlike Jehovah's Witnesses, these men are masked, they are largely unidentified, and they carry automatic weapons. As you all know, Alex Petty died on the streets of Minneapolis for pointing nothing but a camera at these agents. In our previous meeting, I know that multiple city council members expressed reluctance in putting out a declarative statement to the public. I know that multiple city council members expressed that they thought that maybe actions would speak louder than words. Others expressed that they felt it was dangerous to dip into political waters. But I'm sorry to tell you that regardless of whether you make a statement or not, what is happening right now is political, and it would be stupid to think of it otherwise. I attended Gustavus Adolphus College for 4 years, and when I took those classes, one of my favorite professors, Jill Locke, introduced me to the concept that the personal is political. And since being introduced to that concept, I cannot think of it in any other way. Carrie, I know that during this last meeting, you had brought up that you think it would be wise, given the circumstances today, to make a declarative statement, and I agree with you, because not making a statement is not going to spare our city from the presence of these federal agents. In the last week alone, the Marway Trailer Park, as just that single trailer park, has been visited over 7 times by ICE agents, oftentimes multiple times in a day, where the second that observers pull away from the scene, they come right back around within 2 or 3 hours to harass the people that are living there. And it has gotten to the extent where families are now moving themselves to safe houses outside of this city because they don't feel like they can live safely within this neighborhood. I know that making a declarative statement may not necessarily protect the people that live here, but at the very least, it can show the public that you have us in mind and are there to support us. If you want action to speak in tandem with this statement, I encourage you to, if you do decide to make a statement, which I urge you to also make declarations about what resources the city has to offer right now to be able to help our families and our individuals that are being so horribly affected by this right now, because it has gotten so bad and it will continue to be bad. I guess that's all that I have to say.
Any other members of the audience who'd like to make a comment tonight? Thanks, everybody. We're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is the approval of the consent agenda. The consent agenda items on the consent agenda appear on pages 11 through 17 of the packet and conclude with a resolution on pages 18 through 19. The consent agenda includes the following licenses: a consumption and display permit to Nicollet County Ag Society at the location and date within the packet, temporary gambling license to St. Peter Kasota Dollars for Scholars at the location and dates listed within the packet. The following board appointments would be approved. There's a list of names and boards in the packet. There is one correction. Jessica Becker would be appointed to the Tourism and Visitors Bureau. The end date of that would be December 31st, 2026, because she's filling a partial appointment term. The following employee appointment would be made: Joshua Gladys as a police patrol officer at the wage listed within the packet. The following purchases are approved: Sanco Equipment in Mankato for a Bobcat Toolcat and a Bobcat compact truck loader and blade at the prices listed within the packet. MWP Recreation Golden Valley, Minnesota for a Game Time Powerscape Canopy Corner Playground equipment at the price and funding listed in the packet. The following items are declared surplus and staff is authorized to sell or dispose of them. That's a 2016 Bobcat Toolcat, a 2024 Caterpillar skid steer, and a 2006 blade unit, as well as the schedule of disbursements for January 9th, 2026 through January, did I say January 29th? January 9th through 22nd, 2026. Any questions regarding any item on the consent agenda? Carrie?
Todd, with the police patrol officer appointment, are we fully staffed, or is there still the one opening?
There would still be one opening in your FTE allocation.
Okay, so we're at 15.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Brad?
In that new allocation, that's a newly budgeted position that's open, correct? That the one opening, we had 15 coming in and we had a 16th position for this year.
Yeah, yes, or you could consider it the other way. Maybe doesn't matter.
Okay,
But
but
yeah,
either
yeah.
way, yeah.
Yeah, that's a budgeted item, and we have one more position that is open that is also budgeted.
Yes, so, it's a newly, but essentially this year we added a position.
That is
so
correct.
that's
This year
why
you
I'm-
added an additional FTE patrol officer, that's correct.
All right, I thought I saw another hand, but hearing nothing further, is there a motion to approve the resolution? We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye. The resolution is approved. We have no items of unfinished business tonight. We will move on to our first item of new business, which is a 2026 equipment certificate purchase for a brush cutter, and Pete is here to talk to us about that.
Evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. Item A, we're asking for a brush cutter. We have a memo on page 20 that describes our actions and a resolution on page 21. We're looking to have you authorize $17,500 to purchase a 72-inch diamond brush cutter from Sanco Equipment in Mankato. This is an attachment to the front of the skid steer, and we would be purchasing it by equipment certificate. That is why it's before you today.
Any questions for Pete on this one? Hearing none, the resolution authorizing purchase of a 2026 Diamond Pro X brush cutter, 72 inches with a safety door from a 2026 equipment certificate is on page 21. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, and that's a 2026 equipment certificate purchase for a cedar attachment.
Madam Mayor and City Council, the memo is on page 22 with a resolution on page 23. We're asking that you authorize $12,666. This would be a Land Pride all-purpose cedar from Lano Equipment in Anoka. They're the distributor who holds the state bid. That is why we're purchasing it from them. Plus, we need you to declare the existing 2019 Airvator as surplus so that we can dispose that. Usually what we'll do is we'll put that on min bid and put that out for auction as we have with a lot of our equipment in the past. The new 86-inch unit is a little bigger than the one we currently have. We are doing quite a bit of reseeding, as you guys can tell from our athletic fields. We're making great progress with that. We just need something a little bigger now to continue that practice. The cost is funded through the equipment certificate, and it's for parks usage.
For Pete. Hearing nothing, the resolution authorizing purchase of a Land Pride all-purpose cedar APS 1586 with quick hitch on a 2026 equipment certificate is on page 23 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
All right, the motion carries. Next up, another equipment certificate purchase, a snow blower attachment.
Yes, Madam Mayor and City Council, on page 24, there's a memo. Resolution follows thereat on 25, $15,047.25 for a muskox. That is a snow blower attachment. We would be getting that from RDO Equipment in North Mankato. We'd also like you to declare the existing 2010 Toolcat snow blower as surplus and authorize staff to dispose of that unit. We'll be using this piece of equipment for trails and sidewalk maintenance along with downtown snow removal. So the skid steer attachment is funded by the equipment certificate and would be used primarily in the Parks Department.
Just a quick question. So were these budgeted in the equipment certificate for this year?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
It's part of the package that we put together for the equipment certificate.
Yeah, these just all seem like fairly small purchases, and so I just wasn't quite sure why we were doing them on an equipment certificate instead of just from one of the funds.
That'd be a finance question that we looked
Sure.
at really during the budget process, was how many dollars do we need in the equipment certificate for it to be efficient?
No, that's fine. If it was budgeted into this year's equipment
Yep.
certificate, that's totally fine.
If I may, I'll comment
If
on
you could
that.
come up to a microphone so that.
Please. Thanks. I appreciate that question, Councilman. But that is something that we will look at, and I also want to look at streamlining this process, but right now we're doing a review of our purchasing policy, so that when we have these items, if they don't, vary within a certain percentage of what has already been approved, I don't know it's a good use of our time together to relook at these unless they're way off. So I think there's a better way that I could communicate that with you all, and we'll move forward on that.
The other point of it is, for our other entities, we really only approve purchases in excess of $100,000. And so, I mean, if these are budgeted and purchased at, ranging from $5,000 to $15,000, I think we could maybe look at a way of that. We don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to see these in this context.
Well, I would agree with the council member. We are taking on debt for these.
Well, that's my other
So
point. Is I'm curious.
That's kind of why we probably are approving this. We are taking on 5
Yeah,
years
and
debt.
I think we can certainly have this conversation in a workshop, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it maybe makes sense for these smaller ticket items for us not to necessarily take on debt.
You actually wouldn't see these if they were in the regular budget.
Right,
They
that's
would
what I
be
assumed.
purchase order and off we'd go because of our
Yeah.
purchasing policy.
Right.
So, yeah, I agree with the idea of, smaller ticket items necessarily not being on equipment certificates, but the one other thing is to look at the aggregate amount of spending, and
Right.
while each of these is individually not necessarily that large, when you put all three of them together, they suddenly get to the size of an item that we would probably look at being on an equipment certificate. So individually, no, but in aggregate, it's something I think you still want to consider looking at.
And if I could add to my comment, I think it's also important that council does always see the surplus declaration. Those are areas where, in my experience in working in municipal government, that there's a potential to always have that extra oversight with a declaration of surplus. So those are issues I will definitely bring up in a workshop as we start to talk about purchasing policies and how we adjust those and try to modernize those and streamline them for everybody involved. So thanks for the extra time.
Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, the resolution authorizing purchase of a Muskox 2578 snow blower with Bobcat controller combo on a 2026 equipment certificate is on page 25 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sharstrom?
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos?
Aye.
Mayor Noel?
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson?
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis?
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld?
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Next up, 2026 North 4th Street improvements, Chatham to Scarrow feasibility report acceptance. Aye.
City Council, before you have a memo on pages 26 and 27, along with the feasibility report that's on pages 28 through 46, which was prepared by Bolton and Mink Engineering, our city engineer. And then there's a resolution on pages 47 and 48 that will ask you to take action to authorize a public hearing that we hope to have on February 23rd at 7 o'clock p.m. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Jeff Domros, who will recap the feasibility report and give us the information.
Thank you, Pete. As Pete noted, the city's considering the improvements of North 4th Street between Chatham Street and Scarrow Street. Roadway is currently 36-foot wide. It's our typical residential road. Sidewalk on both sides, which is good, and curb and gutter, which is generally in tough shape. I mean, it's drainage, irregular, it's up and down, heaved, and everything else over the years. So roadway is 50-plus years old, too. I mean, it's lived its useful life. Pavement's starting to deteriorate. So currently the sanitary sewer system underneath that roadway was constructed in 1935. It's going on, it's almost 100 years already, but it's vitrified clay pipe, and as we all know, vitrified clay pipe is susceptible to I&I and untreating, and causes us to treat additional water that shouldn't be, groundwater. So we're proposing to replace the sanitary sewer as part of the improvements, and I'll get into that here in a second. But the manholes, there's only one manhole at Madison Street. That's a block structure, poor condition, and should be reconstructed at this time. So water main is, the existing water main is 4-inch cast iron pipe. It's constructed sometime in the 1935 era, maybe a little bit later. But that again is old, is susceptible to breaking, and under the current westerly curb line, so it's not within the roadway. Services are 3/4 inch and 1-inch copper, which is good copper, but 1-inch copper is our standards here in the city. Storm sewer, the existing storm sewer systems, RCP, constructed in 1972, and there's an 18-inch pipe basically between Chatham Street and Madison Street. Other than that, there is no other storm sewer until you get up to the intersection of Scarrow and 4th. So the proposed improvements include, as I mentioned, new PVC sanitary sewer pipe. We don't need to go 18 inches. That was an old combined sanitary storm sewer when it was constructed in 1935. Instead, I'm proposing a 10-inch diameter PVC pipe, which is gasketed and watertight. It doesn't allow groundwater in. And then also new services to the right-of-way line, new PVC sanitary sewer service. New 8-inch DIP water main is proposed. That's our minimum standard as a city. That's proposed between Chatham and Scarrow Streets. New hydrant and valving is also proposed as part of that work. Any services that are currently 3/4 inch would be upsized to 1-inch copper and replaced to the right-of-way line. And then the roadway improvements include reconstructing the existing road, putting new sidewalk in most locations. There are a few areas that sidewalk is in decent shape, but it's hard to say for sure if it could be established or not, depending on grades, elevations, that sort of thing. So right now, the cost estimates include reconstructing all of the sidewalk, all of the roadway, the curb and gutter, and putting a new bituminous surface on that road. Again, that would be a 36-foot wide road proposed, and 6-foot sidewalk, B6 18 curb and gutter, which is a standard you see around the city now. That's all B6 18 curb and gutter. The cost of improvements are, we estimated $117,000. Todd's got it up there. $117,000 for the sanitary sewer improvements. Water main improvements, $187,000. Storm sewer improvements, about $234,000. Roadway improvements, the biggest cost, about $550,000. Of that, it's a total estimated cost of about $1,087,450. Of which $127,000 or about $128,000 is proposed to be assessed per the city's assessment policy, which rates the flat rate based on $8,300 for street assessment, per property, and $2,250 for sanitary sewer and water per abutting property. So From an engineering standpoint, the improvements are, cost-effective, they're cost-effective, necessary, and feasible. And so the next step, if the city council chooses to proceed, would be to approve the resolution, as Pete noted. And that's what the resolution does, is accepts the report and then calls for an improvement hearing, which is proposed for February 23rd at your city council meeting on February 23rd, 2026. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
One thing I can touch on for council's information is, should this project move forward, timing will be an issue. Our goal would be to have the area open to the public all the way through pool closing, and then the project would start after pool closes. Another thing would be, is since the city does own a major portion of what's going on along this stretch, the city's share is higher because we are assessing ourselves, and we will be enduring a lot of the cost for that assessment. So, and then as Jeff mentioned, if you have questions, we can certainly try to answer those.
Josh?
Since this is gonna be right in front of the public pool, have we looked at any traffic calming devices to be put into this area, whether that's bump outs or anything like that? I know this isn't the same like speedway that other areas in town potentially can be, but was that part of your assessment?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that earlier. I was thinking traffic counts and what kind of traffic we see there. Unfortunately, we don't have access to the streetlight data. It's not an MSA route, so I didn't have any good feel for how much traffic is physically there, other than what I see during the summer months. But we didn't consider any traffic calming aspects. I mean, that would be something that could be considered if speeds were, we did have concerns with speed through there, or accidents through there, pedestrian accidents,
Right.
near
I
close
guess I'm
calls,
not,
that sort of thing.
it's kind of a unique situation in which the concern is really only for about 2.5, 3 months out of the year when there's young kids running around there. But I'm not necessarily quite as worried about the speeds climbing up in the same way. I'm just, as someone who grew up in this town, I know a lot of young kids just sprint out of the pool. And so, like, I'm just curious if since we're doing this, if we need to look at mechanisms to help kids be safe in this neighborhood, since they're going right across that street a lot of the time.
Currently, I believe they are four-way stops
Yeah,
at both of those intersections, at Chatham and at Madison.
sure, okay.
Get back on my assessment soapbox. In my opinion, our property down there is commercial property, it is not residential property. I believe our assessment should be commensurate with commercial property assessments for this project. We should be assessing ourselves for commercial property because we generate a lot more traffic and car trips down there, more than any home along this road. I think that assessment should be put into our fee schedule for commercial type property. Now, I don't have a number for it, but
Sure.
I believe that's the proper way to do it, and we should be assessing ourselves to build this. We are a landowner, just like all of our neighbors
Right.
around there. I do support the project. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on this one? All right, hearing nothing further, a resolution accepting feasibility report and calling for a public hearing on North 4th Street improvements, Chatham Street to Scarrow Street, is on page 47 through 48 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson,
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. Next up, council out-of-state travel authorization.
Mayor, members, the information is included in your packet. This is slightly different than what you've seen in previous years, as in previous years, you've had discussion, you've got your calendars together, you've talked about who went previously, those types of issues. But because you are missing a few folks at the workshop that this was scheduled for, the council directed that this come to you really with a blank slate. And so, as the memo indicates, in the past, you've had 2 to 3 elected officials go. Typically, Pete has gone. We can talk about the value of this, but frankly, under your rules and under state law, you have to list a couple of folks if you're planning to attend. The goal is for you to have a resolution that meets that criteria, and this would be for the APPA rally that will be in February. So I'm happy to help in any way that you'd like
I
to
think
move forward.
Dustin and Brad have already indicated their interest in attending, but I wanted to make sure other people, especially Daryl wasn't at the workshop, if there's anybody who would like to raise their hand. Are the two of you still interested?
Well, I'd like to note that Ben had expressed interest as well.
He's no longer
He's no longer
interested.
interested,
Yep,
okay.
Yep.
I have no issue with those council members attending. I will be traveling the week before this, so this isn't gonna work for me.
Is it somewhere warm?
California.
You win.
All right, we will modify the resolution to indicate those two council members' names. If there's no further discussion, the resolution authorizing elected official travel is on page 51. Is there a motion to approve?
I will make that motion.
Second.
May I get a clarification? If we're the ones travel is being authorized for, should we abstain or should we? Or
No, you can certainly participate. It's part of your regular duties. It's not really a conflict of interest necessarily. It's something
Okay.
that the council's done regularly for many years. You should be in
Okay.
good shape.
Thank you for asking, so I didn't need to.
Did we get a second to that one? Second. All right. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Yeah, yeah. Lead mechanic job description.
Mayor, members, the information is included in your packet. As you know, we talked about during budget time, and we also talked about this as a part of a workshop to provide for what, at least from a numbers perspective, is a half-time FTE. We are also looking to reorganize that area, and so this would provide for a lead mechanic position. The mechanic position that you have currently on staff would stay the same, and our goal is to approve the job description and the pay equity points. That then, and also the additional half-time FTE. All of those things are included as a part of the resolution. I do want to mention one other item that I have an error on within the job description. Give me just a second. I believe it's on page 55, thank you, yeah, where it says, it's the third bullet point there, occasionally lift and/or carry 10 to 30 100 pounds. Both of those should say, it should be from 10 to 100 pounds. So the correction would be where it says 30 here, it would say 100 pounds, because that's not correct. There's not continuity there. So we would advertise moving forward, and as we have for a mechanic in this scenario, the current mechanic would move into the lead mechanic position going forward. That will come back to you in the future, but again, our goal here is to approve a couple things, one of which is the job description, the second of which is the pay equity points that's embedded in the job description, and the third of which is the additional FTE. The council maintains control of the amount of FTEs within departments, and so that's why that's necessary.
Any questions or discussions on this one? We previously discussed it multiple times, and so this isn't a surprise to us, but nonetheless, want to give folks a chance to ask questions. Hearing nothing, resolution establishing the position of lead mechanic is on page 56 of the packet. 58. Is there a motion to approve?
So
moved.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye. Our last item of new business tonight, new licenses and registrations.
So, Mayor members, as you know, the rules that you have is renewals are on your consent agenda. New licenses appear under the action items. These would all be new licenses. Green Stems Heel LLC has submitted a registration for a cannabis retailer at 151 St. Julian. R&R Cannabis Company has submitted a registration for cannabis retailer at 418 South Minnesota Avenue. And Heather Kenning, a new owner of Night Bloom, Inc., doing business at the Capitol Room, has submitted an application for on-sale and Sunday liquor license. All the approvals and paperwork has been provided for this, and the tree service from Hunan Tree Service, and Alvarado Solutions for a tree worker license. Those are all the brand new licenses for you, and the resolution is included on the very next page.
Any questions for Todd? For folks watching at home, we get new ones in this manner, and renewals are on consent agenda.
That's correct.
So, hearing no discussion, the resolution approving new registrations is on page 61 of the packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Pettis,
Aye.
Councilmember Weisenfeld,
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom,
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos,
Aye.
Mayor Noel,
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We will move on to reports. First up, I do have a report. I'd like to talk a little bit about the workshop that we had last year. But while it's important to provide a report on the workshop, I do want to say it's impossible to do so without first acknowledging the tragic deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. These tragedies have shaken our state, and we can't talk about policies and procedures related to federal immigration enforcement without recognizing the human impact and profound grief our community is carrying. And I just want to say that I feel that way as well. So, last week's workshop was standing room only. It was packed in here, and it was so we could clearly see the engagement from our community on this issue. During that session, council sat down with our city administrator, with our police chief, and we had a pretty exhaustive discussion, I would say, of the points that were outlined in the memo. So if folks haven't looked at that packet, I would recommend they do so. As Councilmember Weisenfeld pointed out, we're not starting from square one in this arena. We've been talking about this for a while. We have good processes and procedures that are established, and so there's not a lot of new that we need to do, which I think is reassuring to me, and I think should also be reassuring to the public. Good frameworks are in place. After the workshop, this chief and I stayed behind to talk with folks who still had questions remaining, and I really appreciated the thoughtful and respectful tone of those conversations. I don't know if council members also stayed behind at all, but you could address that in your reports. But one thing we heard loud and clear is that the public, our residents, want accurate information, and especially because we know how harmful and even dangerous at times inaccurate information can be, and so that's something that I really heard from residents. With that in mind, I want to repeat something which Ellen had referenced earlier in her comments to the council, is that residents, if they are involved with an active enforcement or if they're a bystander, you need not fear calling 911 in St. Peter. And our police chief has been very clear about that. Like many other communities, our dispatch is handled through the county. We've talked to the county about that, and those calls will be given a high priority for response. So, in closing, as we move forward, I'm committed to continuing this work and to keeping the community informed as appropriately with clarity and care. We have a list of items that we're tracking, which are printed in this packet, and Todd will get to during his report. And so with that, I will turn things over to council members who want to report on either our workshop last week, or if you have other things to report, now's the time to do so. Carrie.
I received a message from a constituent who's also a constitutional observer about an incident at Marway last week, where there was some disagreement between those observers about whether to call St. Peter Police, whether that was a safe choice. And so I think we still have some work to do in terms of reaching people, and there are quite a few groups that are doing that observer training. So perhaps, this is an idea, you don't have to take it, but just maybe there's some outreach that's needed there. But that message that it's safe to call PD is not totally out there yet, and maybe that it takes time as we keep repeating it. But I just wanted to share that I received that message, and the ask in that message was, be more public about that message from PD so that more people know. So we're not having this disagreement while we're trying to help people as observers. Okay, thank you.
I received a similar message as well. I guess the one thing I would have to say, discussions on public statements. As from a statement perspective, yes, they don't have much to bear, but it was recommended tonight, which I think is a good recommendation. A statement can have actionable items in it. It might not be action we're taking, but just things that we are already doing. Maybe a list of, what to do with calling the police, opportunities for assistance with utility bills. If we had essentially just something we could send out to people from a communication perspective that they can see what the resources are. Right now, the resources that people hear about are the ones who come to these meetings and listen to us. Is there something we can send out to constitutional observers versus just sitting here and telling them what's available? So basically, maybe it's not a profound statement, but it's a list of a list of available resources to individuals that are dealing with these situations. I think would be helpful versus just us talking about them. Maybe actually having a list compiled of what's available, or what to do in certain situations. So.
Any other comments? I kind of spoke on your behalf, Josh, so I'm sorry if you wanted to say something different than what I did.
No, the only comment I have is I just want to encourage the community to continue reaching out to us if you have thoughts or any type of feedback. We take every type of community communication very seriously, especially when it's sent to the council and personally written. So any insight we can get from the community to better serve our community is more than welcome.
Madam Mayor, if I could add one thing. One of the things that the council talked about, I think a little bit, certainly at that workshop, was that sometimes it's not the city's role to be the solution for this problem, but one of the things that we can do is we are very good connectors. And there are times when we can connect certain groups together that are trying to do things, and that's a very valuable tool, certainly within our community where we have lots of groups, entities, associations, you name it, that are trying to work with families within our community.
And that's another great point that came up in the workshop is how often we're having, as council members, as city staff, conversations with the county, with the school district, things like that. So, yeah. All right, if there are no more reports from council members, we'll hear a report from our city administrator.
Then it's a great segue into the report that you asked us to put together. And I do want to mention, please note that, at least from my perspective, based on what you said, this information is provided to give you additional sense of what's going on in the community. And frankly, I can't necessarily verify all this data because we aren't the collectors or the controllers of the data. However, we continue to be committed until you tell me not to continue to see this maybe evolve. And as you see this go forward, you'll start to see numbers in the report, but I do have some numbers for you and some other information as we go down those bullet points. If you don't mind, I'll go down them. Yeah. So the first one is local law enforcement contact with federal agents. In that instance, it's been 8 to 10. The council asked about cost allocations, so some of that data is starting to be collected now, and so we'll have future reports on that. So please bear with us on that. Utility assistant request. Oh, yeah.
Can you just shed a little light on what type of contact was being captured in that 8 to 10 estimation?
So this is us either receiving a 911 call or coming across an ICE action and being an observer for that and trying to ensure there's not a disturbance of the peace or violence that occurs.
This isn't federal agencies requesting assistance from
This is
local
not
law
federal
enforcement.
agencies requesting assistance, nor is this a count of how many people may have been detained by ICE or the Border Patrol. We don't really have a great number. We talked about that as a part of the workshop, and I wish there was additional sharing of data from some of those federal agencies, but there just hasn't been yet. So I appreciate that question. So this is us either getting a 911 call or coming across an activity that's going on where ICE is looking to detain or questioning someone. Utility assistance requests, we believe that it's about 10. I can't tell you for sure, finance can't tell you for sure, because part of our discussion was some of the challenges that some of our people in our community face because they transact business only on a cash basis. It would be too broad a generalization to say, let me rephrase that. It would be too narrow of a generalization to say that it's just some of our new immigrant community. There are other people that come in and just pay their utility bill with cash as well. And so just so that you're aware, this is kind of our best guess at what that might look like. Economic Development Assistant Programs. I did have a discussion with the Chamber of Commerce, as we talked about, and so Ed and that team are going to think about that. Ben and I have had discussions about that. My hope is that within the next week or so, we'll have something ready to go out to those businesses and a way to collect some data, as we discussed. So we envision that as being an offering of the programs that the Economic Development Authority has in place, potentially some links for other resources that can help businesses that might be in specific circumstances related to their ability to be open, and then some gathering of some data. Still thinking a little bit about what those questions are and who they might respond to for that. Right now, again, the discussion has been maybe that's the chamber and not necessarily us. But please stay tuned. We're working on that. Been thinking about how to move that forward and how to get that information out appropriately. The fourth bullet point is facility requests. As a part of that, we have not had any facility requests from any federal agency related to utilization of the community center or parks or parking lots or any of those things. So we'll continue to track that and let you know where that is at. Data requests.
Before you go on,
please.
Can you please elaborate on what access ICE does have to city property? That is a common question that's come up.
So they have access to all property that is accessible to the general public. And so as an example, and I think some of the examples that I used in the workshop, that if ICE walked through the lobby of this building, they have the right to do that. That doesn't give them the right to be in any offices or the furnace room or the storage area or any of those. I don't believe that it gives them right to spaces that you have rented to other users. They maintain those spaces. Those are not considered public spaces. So as an example, when Minnesota Valley Action Council is closed, the general public isn't allowed in there. That would be the case for any federal agency or our agencies as well. Parks are open to the public. Public right-of-ways are open to the public. Public rights-of-way are open to the public. Parking lots are open to the public. We are not providing assistance. We will not provide organizational assistance or staging area assistance or any of those things. But if a federal agency drives through a city parking lot, they're allowed to drive through a city parking lot just like you and I are allowed to drive through a city parking lot. Private ownership of parking lots, the owners of those parking lots get to make decisions about how that works and how they plan to enforce that. I hope that helps. I hope.
Yeah, we've had questions about, I think specifically the question came up about noticing ICE vehicles parked on city parking lots and or at parks, and are they allowed to be there? And I think that does help clarify it.
Yeah. Next I have is data requests on the list. So we've not received any data requests from any federal agency. As we talked about previously, any requests would ultimately flow through my office and would be measured against the Minnesota Data Practices Act. And so that's how it works. That's how it's worked for years and years and years. And that's how it would work in today's environment as well.
Can you go back up one?
Oh, yeah. Did I miss one? Oh, I'm sorry. Collaboration with other local units of government. I don't have a great number for this, but I can tell you it is bunches. And you heard some of that discussion today, whether it's with dispatch at the sheriff's office, the sheriff, whether it's with community ed or the school district, certainly with other partners in the community that might not be considered, that are not local units of government. I'm trying to think of Good Neighbor Diversity Council. Lutheran churches within the community that have been in contact with us. There's just a long list of folks that are doing other things within the community that have contacted us. And so you have a wonderful tradition of being partners with all of these groups within our community, and we continue to sustain that and use that as a communication pathway for new immigrants and others within our community. So, and we'll continue to do that. Update on additional community communications. Those are some of the things that you talked about earlier, and so frankly, working on a plan for one of the best ways to move that information first through those communities that are most impacted and then to the general public. You have not told me anything different, but that's the prioritization that is at least on my list, and so we'll continue to try and do that, and as that information comes out, we will certainly share that with you so that you know and can see what it's like. I do want to say a thank you. We've had a number of groups that have looked to use public spaces. Maybe it's Minnesota Square Park or the right-of-way adjacent to Minnesota Square Park. In just about every instance that we have bumped into for someone that's having a rally there or a protest or whatever terminology you want to use, the vast majority of those groups have called in advance and said, we're going to do this. Do we need to know anything? And so we have kind of a list of best practices, expectations, rules for them. So as an example, don't jump out into the street. Please don't be in the median. There's a number of different things, and groups have been very gracious about understanding that, recognizing that, working with the police department and others to ensure that people are safe. Our goal is there for people to be safe. There's plenty of opportunity to get your message out and hold your sign on the sidewalk and those things, and we respect that. That's a First Amendment right, but we want to make sure that people are safe in doing that. And so I really want to thank those groups that have reached out to us.
Have there been any complaints, justifiable complaints of any issues?
Some,
I'm sure people have complained, but like justifiable complaints
Yeah,
about...
I would hate to categorize what justifiable is. It might be a little bit in the eyes of the beholder, but certainly we have instances where horns are honked and hand signals are given and those types of things that are going on. But from my perspective, generally, we would say that both people that are at using the right-of-way, using Minnesota Square Park as an example, folks that are coming by are largely thoughtful in ensuring that their message is put out without having some altercation or conflict arise. And of course, that's one of the things that we're after as a part of this process. People have First Amendment rights, but we want to ensure that people are safe in being able to articulate them, whether they're holding a sign on the boulevard or driving by in their truck.
Okay.
That's all I have, and again, bear with us, this report will evolve a little bit, and, but we'll continue to do it until you tell me not to do it.
All right. Hearing no further questions for Todd or no further reports, we're going to move on to adoption of a resolution calling for a closed session related to real property.
Mayor, members, I would mention that we have 3 real estate transactions that we're going to be visiting about. I expect to come back into open session to take action on a couple of them. Some are still in the negotiation stage, and it's our goal to give you an update on that.
So we're gonna-
Keisha, are we leaving, or are we going to, we're going to stay here?
We're gonna stay
We're
here.
going to stay here and have that discussion. Ben will stay and Steve will stay with us. Ben's been doing the majority of work on that, and then we will come back into open session to potentially take action and then adjourn.
All right. Unless there are further questions for Todd, the resolution calling for a closed session is on page 62. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Weisenfeld.
Aye.
Councilmember Sharstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Johnson.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We move into closed session at 8:02 p.m. Okay. We are returning to open session. It is 9:03 PM on Monday, January 26th. The resolution before us is approving an exclusive right to negotiate purchase for the old City Hall property at 227 South Front Street.
Mayor, members, as you know, you entered into and provided for a request for proposal process. You received a proposal that you were interested in. This is the next logical step in moving forward with the potential development or redevelopment of that site, which is your current City Hall. As you're aware, you've purchased new property that's commonly known as the Scholarship America property, and you continue to look at remodeling and development of that area. This would put you in the position with the developer for about 6 months to do for them and for you to do all the due diligence related to this potential project. The resolution's included on a packet that was provided on your desk. We're happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? We obviously just had a chance to discuss this, so. All right, hearing nothing further, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
I can figure out who's here. Councilmember Sharpstrom.
Aye.
Councilmember DeVos.
Aye.
Mayor Noel.
Aye.
Councilmember Pettis.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. We have no more items of business before us this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.